offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouses Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means our show brought to you by Rouses Markets. Loaded Thursday here as we are working towards the weekend. Sean Fazan covers the New Orleans Saints. He'll be with us at 1:15. Talk LSU hoops. They're playing Dayton in 2 hours. So I'll talk about that as I get ready to play the Flyers over in Charleston. Best win and worst loss in college football and the NFL. Getting crunch time in college football, as you well know. Brady Weiler covers Georgia State for Panther Talk, has a podcast talking Georgia State. We'll chat with him at 2 o'clock. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, with us at 2:15. Of course, we got to take it or leave it. So plenty to get to here on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouses. I want to start with, it's not really mock draft season. Mock draft season rears its head in March. We kind of know that. But they're starting to trickle out mid-NFL season, as half the NFL season is in the rearview mirror. And I was genuinely interested in seeing a couple of these mock drafts that were leaking out today, because I'm just curious about Jaden Daniels. We know that he was a very highly thought of recruit entering Arizona State. We know he's played a ton of college football. We know he had an opportunity after last season to test the waters of the NFL, and he did, and decided that it'd be best for him to come back and play another year of college football. And we know that he's exploded. But how much of that explosion is generating interest from the NFL level? He's a little undersized, and you think of him as a true dual threat. We have our idea of what the NFL quarterback looks like, but we know that mold is changing a little bit, and there are far more NFL quarterbacks that are very athletic than there are 6'4", 245-pound rocket arm statues. So I was just curious what that was going to look like, and there are two that we're going to reference on today's show. The first is from 24/7. Blake Brockermeyer came up with his mock draft way too early, and I'm less interested, honestly, at who's drafting where. There are way too many variables between now and the NFL draft to care about where the Bears, where the Panthers, where the Commanders, where the Saints, where the Eagles. Like, we got to play a lot of games, and there are trades, and we just don't know any of that. But as far as where guys go, I think that is fascinating. And Blake Brockermeyer has Caleb Williams going first. And then he has Marvin Harrison going second. Okay. Drake May going third. This all makes perfect sense. Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama going fourth. Olu Fashanu, big offensive tackle from Penn State, going fifth. Jaden Daniels, quarterback, LSU, number 6 overall in this simulation to the Green Bay Packers. But again, who cares? The 6th overall pick and third quarterback behind Caleb Williams and Drake May. It's not Bo Nix, not Michael Penix. It's Jaden Daniels. And that, I'll be honest, surprised me. I have heard a number of people over the last month say, this guy looks like a first rounder to me. And we just watched a guy 4 years ago fly up the draft boards midseason and end up going number 1 overall, and of course, Joe Burrow. And when I saw Joe, I thought immediately this is the NFL prototype, because he's so decisive, so accurate, so much of his work is done pre-snap. That looks like the elite NFL guys. And Jaden, while he's been at most of the time very decisive, very accurate, and certainly accurate on the deep balls, but I'm more so talking about intermediate routes, he does do a lot of work either extending plays or creating yards with his legs. And some of that goes away at the NFL level. Not all of it. Lamar's been awesome at it. Kyler's been awesome at it. Josh Allen's been awesome at it. Like, there are really good players, MVP level players, that do this. And obviously the best comp right now is Lamar Jackson in terms of the speed, the production passing at this level. But I was a little bit skeptical of just the way that Jaden creates his yards as it translates to the NFL level. But clearly at this point, it seems that there are going to be some teams willing to take a shot, and that's awesome. Because this guy deserves it, and he's done a fantastic job. I'll keep going through this 24/7 mock before we get to the one from SI that Luke Easterling did, but I did want to point out where the next LSU Tiger is on this mock draft. And just to put in perspective the company these guys are keeping, after Jaden Daniels at 6, you've got Brock Bowers at 7, you've got Dallas Turner at 8, you've got Joe Alt, another offensive tackle from Notre Dame. They just churn him out up there at number 9, and Malik Neighbors at number 10 to the Washington Commanders. That's incredible too. Malik has just done a phenomenal job really from the first time he got here. Malik was in such a crowded wide receiver class. It included Brian Thomas, who was more highly thought of than him. It included Chris Hilton, who was a 4-star and a track star. It included Deion Smith, who was the number 1 player in the state of Mississippi. It included Jack Besh, who was thought to be a really early contributor at LSU. And Malik was just one of the guys. He started as a Mississippi State commit, then decommitted, comes down to LSU, and he's just done nothing but become the best of that crop and potentially the most productive receiver in LSU football history. So to see 2 guys go in the top 10 would be really, really cool for this program, and that's what Blake Brockermeyer at 24/7 Sports thinks. So now let's shift over to SI. SI's got it shaped up a little bit differently. For one, at the top of this draft for SI, which is done by Luke Easterling, still got the pick with the Chicago Bears, as they think the Panthers will be the number 1 pick. They have Drake May going 1. They follow that up at number 3 with Caleb Williams, number 2 with Caleb Williams. And then Bo Nix is the 3rd quarterback. They've got Bo Nix going at pick number... Oh, sorry, not Bo Nix. J.J. McCarthy. They've got J.J. McCarthy, 6'3", 202. I didn't know he was that big, by the way. Going to the Atlanta Falcons at number 9 in front of Jaden Daniels, who they have going at 11. So you're going to have a crop there. I think May and Williams will probably separate themselves at the top. And I think there's going to be a cluster that teams probably fight for and trade up for and decide who they value and where they want to pick between McCarthy, Penix, Nix, and Daniels. And in this SI, McCarthy comes in at 9. Jaden Daniels comes in at 11. This one would not make most of you listeners very happy. They would have him 11 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll read the little snippet that Easterling writes here. He says, this offseason will be full of big decisions for the Bucs, but none bigger than what to do long-term at quarterback. If they're not fully committed to Baker Mayfield, they could dip into this deep quarterback class for a cheaper alternative. Number of options worthy of consideration, but Daniels has been the most electric player in college football this year, and his development seems like a potential superstar at the next level. Very, very cool. Now, where's Malik in this one? A little bit back. They've got him at number 22 in this mock draft, which is still great to be a first-round pick. And then you got Brian Thomas sneaking into this draft at number 32, the last pick of the first round, which in this simulation goes to the Eagles. And I just challenge anyone in the NFC East to go chase down A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Brian Thomas for 4 quarters. Doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but very, very cool for this offense that we have had so much fun watching for the last 3 months, that has been so productive every single time out. They have played exactly one iffy half of football against Florida State that included a huge 3rd down drop and Malik Neighbors falling down on a comeback route. If you take that out and consider the hit by Dallas Turner on Jaden, they have come to play every quarter, every half, every week, and hopefully they're rewarded very, very handsomely in the NFL draft coming up in the spring. They got more work to do. Starts Saturday against Georgia State and certainly against A&M, and we'll see if these guys decide to play in the bowl game. Got your name floating around first-round draft mocks. And I think all 3 of these guys are primed to just crush it at any combine or pro day they work at. Jaden Daniels' speed should really show up. Malik Neighbors is kind of the entire package. The acceleration's been fantastic. The speed And then Brian Thomas at a legit 6'4", 205, 208 pounds that can run like that and has the nation's touchdown lead at this point. Like they're built in terms of the tape and the combine to really show out and hopefully be first-round picks. And what a great step in the right direction that would be for this LSU program to have that kind of high-profile night in April. If you'd had three guys, one potentially a Heisman Trophy winner, a Biletnikoff Award winner, guys that are leading the country in yards and touchdowns, and then cap all that off in the NFL draft with 3 first-round picks, that would be really, really cool. So 24/7 with Blake Brockermeyer, Jaden number 6, and Malik number 10. Luke Easterling has Jaden at number 11, Malik Neighbors at number 22, and Brian Thomas at number 32 in his mock draft. So both guys have Jaden Daniels in the top 11 picks of this draft. That just didn't seem like a possibility back in August, and now it very much appears that it is. So hopefully Jaden finishes things off very, very strong, and this is what the result of that is. Fired up to be here on a Thursday, presented by Rouses Markets. We'll be at Rouses tomorrow. OTB will be at Rouses tomorrow. Hunt Palmer Show will be at Rouses tomorrow. After Further Review will be at Rouses tomorrow. Burbank and Lee, where we always are on Fridays, but a great, great, great event going on with Tackle Hunger. There will be Randall Blue Gay will be there. The Saints mascot and Gumbo, the cheerleaders will be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're getting your tailgating supplies tomorrow at some point to come out to tailgate at LSU, or if you're getting ready for a Saints watch party I know the Saints are off this weekend, so you won't have a Saints watch party this Sunday. But if you're tailgating or just getting your weekend groceries, coming out and see us tomorrow at Rouse's at Burbank and Lee. Very excited to be here, and thanks to them for bringing you our Thursday shows. When we come back, speaking of the Saints, who are off this weekend, Sean Fazan covers the black and gold. He's with us next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana. Founded in a backyard shed right here in Baton Rouge, just carving bats. And they are come a long way from just carving bats. They've got their baseball performance lab here in Baton Rouge that is just state of the art. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my guy Anthony Rizzo taking some swings in their cage. It's a guy who's been an all-star multiple times, a World Series champion. If you didn't know, 2016, many of the pros trust Marucci with their equipment. But it's not just that. It's the fact that they're bringing elite talent to our state. It's the fact that they're bringing tourism dollars to our state with the Marucci World Series. So much good goes on at Marucci. That's what makes them a champion of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on all new 23 Ford F-150 Black Widow trucks, plus $2,750 discount APR and 5.9% for 72 months. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Running Boards marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Brian Kelly meets with reporters one more time before the Georgia State game. We'll chat with Mike Triplett and our Fantasy Blitz. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouses Supermarkets.
Working towards the weekend, a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Usually Luke Johnson's spot here, but Luke's headed out west for a wedding. Got the little one with him, which should be quite an adventure. So we'll switch gears. We go to Sean Fazan. He covers the Saints for Fox 8 and good enough to join us for a few minutes here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sean, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. Very honored to fill in for the great Luke Johnson. So I'm happy to be here.
He truly is great, but we'll see how great he is after 3 hours on a plane with an infant. We'll see how that one goes. Sean, you have the Overtime podcast over there at Fox 8, and I was giving it a listen earlier today, and y'all were evaluating Derek Carr through his first 10 games as the quarterback of the Saints. How would you assess his play thus far?
He's been very Derek Carr. He's been very he's been average. He's been an average player through 10 games. He's been a guy who, you check his stats, he'll fall somewhere, all the major passing stats, somewhere between 12 and 19 in most of the stats, passing yards, touchdowns, completion percentage, rating, QBR, those types of things. Only thing he's in the top 5 in is the interceptions thrown. He has taken care of the ball, but I think at the expense of some plays that could have been made downfield in certain situations. So I think overall he's been his stats match that of a team that's 5-5. I think that he's been a very 5-5 quarterback. That's just through 10 games. That's my honest assessment of where Derek Carr currently stands.
Is there reason to believe that he, who's played more football than he will play in the future, very likely will improve upon that over the course of the next 7 games or the next 3 years?
Marginally better. I think they were finding themselves a little bit between the Indianapolis and Chicago stretch, but the team has had really has had trouble dealing with any kind of success this season. They tend to fall right back to their sort of this natural ability to be average. So I think they can get marginally better in certain areas when it comes to improvement of his play overall. I think there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to the offense that haven't gotten in sync. It's always seemed a little bit disjointed, and I don't think there's any reason to believe it would all of a sudden just come together and be the smooth, efficient shop that they had hoped for. But marginal improvement is certainly possible, and marginal improvement, as sad as it sounds, might be enough to get you to 9-8 and win the NFC South and get into the playoffs, not just get into the playoffs, but host a playoff game, which would be remarkable given the just the around 500 nature this team has had throughout the 2023 season.
We know the offensive line had massive issues in September and October, injuries and play both. Would you suggest that they've kind of leveled out there and have solidified some things?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the formula going forward. I think they've done enough to solidify things, especially when it comes to pass protection. I think they slid a little bit against Minnesota. I think Brian Flores' exotic looks got to them a little bit, and I don't think we talked about that quite enough in our analysis of the Saints-Vikings loss. But I do think for the most part that 3-4, 5-game stretch with this combination, they've been able to solidify themselves and that's going to be the formula going forward. That's the top 5. That's the best 5 going forward. They have taken a small dip when it comes to running the football, although against Minnesota they were able to run the ball effectively. Again, sometimes those exotic type defenses, they'll give those types of plays up. But I do think overall this is your best 5. That's probably the way, barring injury, of course, the way they'll keep going throughout the rest of the season.
If I were to give you like a multiple choice as to if the Saints offense is going to find far more consistency after the bye week, is it more likely that's because Derek Carr plays better, because they find a more traditional run game, because Taysom Hill is more involved? What would be the most likely scenario that would help the Saints offense moving forward?
Well, honestly, I think the Taysom Hill situation that happened Sunday, it was uncalled for. He should have gotten the ball more. But for the most part, he's been pretty heavily involved, at least over the last 3 or 4 game stretch. Again, I think Derek Carr is who he is. He might have marginal improvement. I honestly think the traditional run game needs to improve, and I think there's more there. I think that's the one area, if you really were to look at it and say, okay, where's the area they can realistically improve from where they've been that could realistically help push them over the edge in terms of just getting that little bump that they need to find some form of consistency. That would be it. You look at Alvin Kamara, there's been flashes there, but he hasn't necessarily broke off the big one yet. You talk about, the rookie Kendre Miller's battling injuries. Jamal Williams is a nice addition, but I don't think he's the type that's going to give you any sort of explosive playmaking ability running the football. So if that would probably be the most tangible thing. If they could somehow get the traditional run game going with Kamara, whatever this mixture of backs that they have, combined with the usage of Taysom Hill. We've all seen the stat out there when he rushes for over 7 attempts in a game. And then I think Derek Carr is going to be pretty similar to what he's been. He's not going to be great. He's not going to be terrible. He's going to be kind of in the middle. So if you get a little bit of that, I think you can see a little bit more consistency in this offense.
Chatting with Sean Fazan, Fox 8 Sports down in New Orleans. Defensive side of the ball, that stretch where they weren't allowing 20 was really remarkable in this day and age in the NFL, but it's slipped a little bit since then. What have you seen in the Saints defense over the last month?
Yeah, it's been a struggle, and they've started to level off, and it's very, very, very concerning. They seem to start getting to dig themselves into holes very early in games. They've been able to offset that, like, for instance, against Chicago with the 5 takeaways, and they've been able to take the ball away, which is great, but they didn't get one in Minnesota, obviously. I honestly think it starts up front. I think the regression up there, it's almost like it's flipped. Early in the season, the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the ball was the biggest concern. And about 5 or 6 games in, I thought that flipped. That line of scrimmage concern flips to the defensive side of the ball. You're not getting much pressure. Other than Carl Granderson and flashes of Brian Brzee, you're just not seeing the playmaking ability up front. And I think that's an issue that was an issue going into camp. It was an issue coming out of camp. It looked like they had solved it the first part of the season, but it looks like over the last few weeks now, that's been a real problem, and I'm not sure what the solution is to that because it all starts up front.
Obviously, there's some injuries up front on the defensive line. They bring in Jason Pierre-Paul. Is that purely a depth player? Can he help?
Yes, to both. I think
okay.
he can. I think he's going to be a guy they're going to see what he has, see if he can blend in. One of those, hey, it can't hurt. We got to try something here to get some kind of juice in our pass rush, some kind of juice up front at the line of scrimmage. He's got, look, he's 34 years old. He's played some good ball in his career, but we'll see how much gas he has left in the tank. But this is a guy that if he can work his way into rotation, great. If not, it was a pretty low risk signing. So I guess we'll see what he's able to do. But I think it is a sign of just how frankly desperate they are to get some kind of life up front, some kind of pass rush up front to help this defense that's been on the slide. And it's part of the formula that frankly no one thought would be the issue. The defense being great was always part of the formula. The defense slipping to where they've been average the last couple of weeks, and hell, even bad in some spots. That's the part of the formula no one was expecting. I think it's throwing for a loop a little bit.
How big a loss is Marshawn Lattimore?
I think it's big because he's a guy that his presence allows everyone else in that secondary to play a little freer, to play with a little more confidence because he's such a lockdown guy. And I think of the 3 guys that got injured Sunday, talk about Carr, Mike T, and Lattimore. He's the one I worry about the most in terms of the absence, far as how much time he's going to miss. They've got some depth there, and we saw some good things from Ike Yadam when he was on the field. We'll see what Alontae Taylor does. Does he go outside and stay inside? But I do think there's no replacing Marshawn Lattimore. Good thing is Adebo has stepped up, but he stepped up with Lattimore opposite of him. If he's got to be the main guy, I'd be very curious to see what he's saying.
We've talked about what the Saints need to do to improve on both sides of the ball. And if they do that and they win 11 or 12 games and win the division, like everything's going to be fine. What if it goes the other way and the Saints finish this thing 2 games under 500 and the Falcons win the division? What are we looking at here?
I think you're going to see some major changes if somehow they come out of this with that schedule and frankly the good luck they've had, the good fortune they've had with the opposing quarterbacks they've had to face week in and week out, and somehow they end up 7-10 again. You're going to see some major changes, and I would think in that scenario, you would have to take a hard look at the head coach in that scenario as well. It's never generally been the Benson sort of way to kind of cut bait quickly when it comes to a head coach, especially under the Bensons. If you just look at their track record, other than Mike Ditka, they have never done that. But given where they stand, given the investment that they've made, and given just the circumstances that worked in their favor this year, like I said, with the scheduling and the injuries to other teams and the relative health of your team, that would be a huge disappointment, and you would see, at the very least, major coaching staff changes, if not the head coach, a lot on that staff being changed as well, which still could come even if they win the division.
What's the temperature of the city right now on the Saints?
It's just kind of whatever. It's kind of they're disappointed, and I think they've kind of expect the mediocre play, and when that happens, the next step is apathy. When apathy sets in, that's when it starts to show up in ticket sales and viewership and that sort of thing, and that is what would get ownership's attention, and whether or not they would need a change and start doing things differently if that were to happen. Still got some time left, but right now I would say there's definitely a sort of whatever type feel to the Saints right now within the fan base. What
does your gut tell you about how the Saints finish this thing up?
I just based off of what they've shown, based off of what's ahead, based off of how they've handled both success and failure this season, I think they finish this thing out 9-8, and somehow, some way, end up winning the NFC South and hosting a playoff game, which some would not like that because it wouldn't force any change. But I just think given the way it's gone and what they currently have available, I just think you're looking at a 9-8 ball club. And how about that? NFC South champions, which would be something else, wouldn't it?
Sure would. Sean, we appreciate some time.
Yep. Thanks.
He is Sean Fazan from Fox 8 down in New Orleans, at Sean Fazan Fox 8 on Twitter. That's the interesting thing to me. I've never lived in New Orleans, but I've spent a lot of time down there. When I started a career in insurance down there, I was there 5 days a week and then coming back to Baton Rouge on the weekends. But that city adores its Saints. Now, Drew was there at this point and all was happy-go-lucky, so I get it. But when you start to lose that, it's hard to come back from that in that regime. It's just hard. And Sean's correct. The Bensons have not been a knee-jerk reaction franchise. They have not. But they did tell Stan Van Gundy to kick bricks after 1 year. Like, that's a different franchise, but it's the same ownership group. And so that's the fight that Dennis Allen is up against. And it's an every single Sunday thing for him the next 6-7 weeks. Everyone. Because you lose that fan base and you start to turn them and they start to boo or not show up, and that city loses its passion for its favorite thing, probably outside of Mardi Gras, maybe even including Mardi Gras, then you've got a problem. So I'm hopeful that doesn't happen. It feels like it very well might. But that's what the next 7 weeks will be about. So appreciate Sean Fazan for making a little bit of time for us. Coming up in 90 minutes, LSU basketball back on the court. They're up in Charleston. I'll give you my preview of LSU and Dayton coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? No better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, knowledge travel bonus method expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone knows a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Sanders joins for Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's. Richard Dixon and I get it started at 10 a.m. for 3 big hours of college football preview. Live at lunch, 10 a.m. on Friday from 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouses Supermarkets.
Well, now you're all aware that LSU's basketball game against Nichols on Friday didn't go so hot. Tigers stormed back in the second half after being down 19 at the break, took a lead, and then Nichols threw in a buzzer beater at the end to beat LSU and drop the Tigers to 1-1. But it's always another day in basketball, and today is that day. LSU headed up to Charleston to play in the Shriners Children's Charleston Classic. They'll take on the Dayton Flyers today. Dayton, incidentally, a 1.5-point choice in that game as of the last time I checked this morning. Dayton also a 1-1 team. They beat SIU Edwardsville to start the season and lost to Northwestern out of the Big Ten earlier this week. 71-66 was the final in that game. Dayton last year was 22-12. They finished second in the A-10, both in the regular season and the A-10 tournament. Anthony Grant is their head coach. You'll remember him from his time at VCU and then at Alabama. He's now at Dayton and was the coach of that remarkably good Dayton team that got their season cut short due to COVID in 2020. That's among the worst sports breaks that happened. Dayton had a legit, probably a 2 seed that year, and weren't able to finish their season. But they returned 3 starters off the team that finished second in the A-10 last year. The best of which is Deron Holmes. He's a 6'10" forward. 2-time All-A-10 player. He leads them in scoring this year with 18. Last year he was an 18-8 guy, so big-bodied post who can score around the rim and has shot some threes in the first 2 games this year. He's 9 of 18 from the floor this year, 50%, and only missed 2 free throws in 18 attempts. So the question is, can Will Baker go out there and defend a big-body, legit post that Dayton has? Is it Jalen Reed's responsibility to do that? Do they have to go to Damian Collins to do that, use his length and athleticism, or is Derek Fountain the guy that they called on to do that? We'll see how LSU handles their first legitimate big of the season. We have not seen that yet, and Deron Holmes, very, very good big. Kobe Bray is a wing player for Dayton, 6'6" junior guard who shot a bunch of threes. He's 6 of 13 from three-point range this year, and he's only attempted 3 2-pointers all year long. So big post, wing that can shoot the 3, and maybe most importantly with this Dayton team that LSU will see at 3 o'clock is Javon Bennett, their point guard. He's a 5'10", 155-pound sophomore point guard. He's got 11 assists, which leave him. And we'll see if LSU can handle a true point guard. This is not a guy in Bennett that wants to shoot the ball very often. This is a guy who wants to distribute, and he's short, and he's quick, and he's a great distributor. And LSU does not have a true point guard. If Jalen Cook was in this game, he'd match up with this guy, and you just let it rock. But I'm not going to say if Jalen Cook were around very often with this season. We're 2 weeks in, so I'll give you one here. But the fact is that LSU doesn't really have a point guard. So how do you handle Javon Bennett in this game? This is a huge step up in class for LSU. Dayton's not going to go to the Final Four, I don't think, this year. But Mississippi Valley State's atrocious, and Nichols is not good. And so this is a functional basketball team, and I promise you LSU is not as bad as they looked in the first half against Nichols. You run into a bad shooting night, and the other team, while you're playing bad defense, has a great shooting night, you might get beat. But this is a good team in Dayton, and LSU's going to have to play well today to stay in it and potentially win the game. The key for LSU today is the same key that it's going to be most times out, or the jumpers falling. Is Jordan Wright knocking down jump shots? Is Will Baker able to step out and make a couple? Does Tyrell Ward get some catch-and-shoot opportunities and make those good? Imwani from the corner. Is LSU making some shots to spread a defense out and create space on the floor? That's almost always going to be LSU's key. But there are some other pieces that through 2 games I'm looking at as potentially a concern. Against Mississippi Valley State and Nichols, like we said, LSU has 12 offensive rebounds, and those 2 teams have 14. You've given up more offensive rebounds than you've gotten. Now, there's always a caveat there. LSU's only missed 25 shots, and their opponents have missed 34. So there are 9 extras to be had, but still, these schools shouldn't be on the same floor with you, and you're allowing offensive rebounds. LSU's got to get tougher there. And we knew that Will Baker, for all his offensive skill, was not a dynamic rebounder or shot blocker or rim protector or post defender. He's on this team to score points, give you 14, 15, 16 points a game, pull the other team's bigs away from the basket, and that's where he's at his best. You need Damian Collins to help you block shots and rebound at the rim. You need Jalen Reed to grow up and go rebound. You need Trey Hannibal and some of your guards, and Wani Wilkinson, who's a freak athlete, to go down there and help on the boards. If you don't put a body on Deron Holmes and knock him out of the way, he will feast on the glass and he will light you up and he will get your bigs in foul trouble. I've been pretty consistent. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's a stupid thing to say. I haven't been consistent because we've only talked about LSU Nichols for 7 minutes on this show. on my feelings on the Nichols loss. It's a terrible loss in terms of program momentum, early season confidence, buzz in the city, all of those things. It's terrible. You should not lose to Nichols. However, I understand why it happened. Because they went cold in the first half, Nichols got hot. LSU dominated the second half like they're supposed to. They just got run for 18 minutes in the first half. I don't think they're a disaster because of the Nichols game. I don't think they're going to finish last in the SEC because of the Nichols game. In fact, my opinion on them hasn't changed at all because of the Nichols game. It's just a terrible loss. Now, my opinion may change a little bit if they get out there against Dayton and get beat by 24. But if they go out there against Dayton, as I suspect, it's a 5-point game with 4 minutes to go and both teams have got to make some plays late, I'll be like, yeah, this is about where they are. But they should be a competitive team in this game. Again, Dayton's a 1.5-point favorite. They've got a good coach and a veteran team and a couple of really good players. And LSU's still trying to learn its personnel. I'm curious how much Mike Williams plays and how much Trey Hannibal plays. Neither is ready to be a true point guard at this level because Hannibal's incapable of shooting and is an okay ball handler. And Williams is a freshman who's more of a scoring guy in his high school days and not a facilitator. But it is what you got. So you got to go out there and do it. And I'm curious how they defend in the post. When do they send doubles? Who do they assign to the big fella? Do they play zone? I'm curious. That this is at a point where we don't know. LSU showed a lot of different defenses, a lot of three-quarter court stuff, a lot of man-to-man, a little bit of zone, not a lot. So it's a good opportunity for LSU against a pretty good team. The other side of LSU's bracket in the short term is North Texas and St. John's. For those unaware, St. John's has a new coach this year. You may have heard of him. Rick Pitino is the head man for St. John's. So if LSU were to win and St. John's were to beat North Texas, you would get Rick Pitino's squad in Game 2 of this tournament. If you were to lose and St. John's were to lose, you would get Rick Pitino's squad in the second game of this tournament. If you don't do the same thing St. John's does, you'll catch the North Texas Mean Green in this one. Incidentally, Matthew Burney joins us a good bit on the show. Talking on a lot of things, football, basketball, baseball, whatever. He is in Charleston, so if you want to follow Matthew on Twitter, he's up there covering the game for the On3 network, so you can give him a follow as you get updates. The game is at 3 o'clock, an hour and 18 minutes from right now. You can catch it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Chris Blair will not be on the call for this game. He's going to join us in 30 minutes. We'll talk a little bit about it. But you got John Brady up there and a replacement for Chris on the LSU Sports Radio Network coming up on Eagle 98.1 at 3 o'clock. Pregame will start at 2:30. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouses. A reminder, we'll be out there tomorrow, OTB, Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review at Rouses, their Tackle Hunter event. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll have the Saints cheerleaders. We'll have the Gumbo, the Saints mascot, Randall Blue Gay, who, of course, played at LSU, and with the Saints will be there. Download the Rouses app if you're not going to come by and see us. Get your grocery shopping done digitally. Don't even have to set foot in the store. They will do it for you over at Rouses. If you just do the shopping on the app, set a pickup time, spend $35, they'll walk your food right out there to you. You're on your way. I like going to Rouses because it's clean and it's an enjoyable shopping experience and the options are great. But if you don't have time or interest, you can do it digitally. They can make life easy on you over at Rouses. We'll come back. Best win and worst loss in the NFL and college football. Maybe not a couple that you're thinking of, but I'll tell you about them to close out hour number one.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Protect yourself from those power outages. Just imagine you're sitting down to watch a big game, sitting down to watch something you want to watch. Can't do it because the power goes out. It happens all the time down here in South Louisiana. You can protect yourself from that. Power goes off, generator cranks on, you're as good as new. And every generator that they provide is different. Got a different model for a different size home and a different obligation of the generator, what it's going to power. But you won't know unless you get Boudreaux's Electric out to come out and install that customized generator at your home. And every single Generac generator that Boudreaux's Electric sells you is going to come with a free 10-year warranty. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They've got a bunch of technology over there, but they still run it like an old-fashioned family business. Give them a call. New location in Gonzales, opening up at the beginning of the year, but those phone lines are already working. 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us.
The Prep Football Playoffs, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview, presented by Brock. Catholic High and John Ehret kick off at 7, and that's immediately followed by Louisiana Prep Scoreboard, presented by Lake Urgent Care. On YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouses Supermarkets.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust invite you to bling in the holidays. Register today at 1045ESPN.com to win $10,000, a custom piece of jewelry worth $10,000, handcrafted by Stuart Selassie himself. Bling in the holidays with Citizens Bank and Trust, Selassie Jewelry, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here to close out hour number 1. We always do best win, worst loss in the college football top 25 and the NFL. So we'll dive into that. I think the best win in college football would be Oregon State beating Washington. And you would think that would be in the worst loss category with Washington because you're undefeated and you're right there on the precipice of getting into the playoff. But Oregon State, if they win this game at home against Washington, which they're favored to do by 2.5, they would have an opportunity to play Oregon next week and give Oregon their second loss and jump right into the mix to be at the top of the Pac-12. Arizona's only got 2 losses, and I'm not going to sit here, quite frankly, and dig through Pac-12 regular season tiebreakers. I don't know that that's exactly what you're looking for on your Thursday here in South Louisiana. But if Oregon State could get to 6-2 in the Pac-12 with a game against Oregon next week and hitting their second loss, like Oregon State's looking at potentially winning the Pac-12. I think that's a huge, huge deal. So Oregon State against Washington, and I've said this a couple times, and I'll probably say it again tomorrow, like I think people in Baton Rouge are going to have eyes on that game. LSU fans would like Michael Penix to get dealt a loss. Bo Nix has kind of got some helium for the Heisman at this point, as does Jaden Daniels, and Penix may have lost a little bit because he's had a couple of subpar games, but undefeated's undefeated, and we know how that sometimes goes in college football. So best win in college football, Oregon State over Washington. Worst loss is in the SEC for me, and that's Missouri hosting Florida. Missouri right now is not in the realm with Georgia and not in the realm with Alabama. The winner of that game is going to go to the playoff, and the loser of that game is probably not going to make the playoff and probably going to make the New Year's Six. And so Missouri will find itself in direct competition with Ole Miss, who's probably not going to lose to ULM or Mississippi State for that next spot. And they've got a lead on Ole Miss in the college football playoff polls right now. So I think they're in position to go to a New Year's Six bowl at this point, and you would lose that if you lose at home to a Florida team that is reeling defensively and can't stop anybody. I don't believe that. I think there's a real chance that Oregon State can beat Washington. I'm not picking Sunbelt Billy to go up to Columbia and beat Missouri. Sorry. Not with the way that defense is playing right now. So best win in college football, Oregon State over Washington. Worst loss, Missouri at home to Florida. Best win in the NFL to me is tonight. I could have easily put this in the worst loss category if the Bengals do lose, because I think that they would likely be done in the division. The Bengals would be 5-5 and the Ravens would be 8-3, and you wouldn't imagine, having lost the tiebreaker to the Ravens, that you would be able to catch them. But I'll put it in best win because on the flip side, it allows the Bengals to stay in it. The Bengals do win this game tonight in Baltimore. They would go to 6-4 overall, and the Ravens would fall to 7-4, and you'd be right there. Now, Cleveland's got to say so, and somehow, some way, the Steelers are still functioning, even though they've been outgained in every game they've played this year. They sit here 6-3, but the Bengals are trying to keep pace, and I think that many would consider the Bengals the scariest team in the AFC North, but 4 losses is 4 losses. If you lose tonight on the road against a team that's favored by you by better than a field goal, 3.5, then you would be in big trouble. So I've got best win in the NFL tonight on Amazon Prime, the Bengals in Baltimore to play the Ravens. I cannot wait to watch that one. It takes a little bit of effort for me to watch Amazon Prime. I got to go into a specific room that has it and got to make that happen. It's not the living room. I will make that happen tonight. We'll be watching Bengals and Ravens tonight, and I think that would be the best win in the NFL. The worst loss to me would be the Dolphins. The Dolphins are at home, and they are taking on a pretty mediocre Raiders team. If the Dolphins were to lose this game at home, you're sitting there at 6-4. You would have lost 3 of 4. They're respectable losses. They are. The Dolphins shouldn't be frowned upon because they couldn't beat the Eagles and they couldn't beat the Chiefs. That Eagles game was in Philly. Chiefs game was in London. So you're playing 2 really tough teams away, and the only other loss they have is at Buffalo, and there's no real shame in that one either. But you lose to the Raiders, there would be a little bit of an issue there to have lost 3 of 4, drop one to a mediocre team, and you're now really going to have to very likely head somewhere else for the playoffs at some point, whether that's to Buffalo or to Kansas City or to Cincinnati or to Baltimore. None of those places is very warm. Tua's from Hawaii and played in Alabama and now plays for the Dolphins. And I just don't know if he's super fired up about Arrowhead or Buffalo or Baltimore or Pittsburgh or any of those places in January. You want any chance of keeping some people in South Beach, you really need to do a lot of work the rest of the way, and losing to the Raiders, I think, would be a very, very bad look for this Dolphins team. So best win in college football, Oregon State over Washington. Worst loss, Missouri at home to Florida. Best win in the NFL tonight, Joe B against the Ravens. And the worst loss would be the Dolphins to the Raiders. That is that for our number 1 here on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up, talking about the mock drafts that are coming out bit by bit specifically the ones from Sports Illustrated and 24/7 today, that both have Jaden Daniels in the top 11, and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors getting first-round looks as well. Sean Fazan, Fox 8 in New Orleans, was with us at 1:15, talking all things Saints as they enter their bye, and some interesting thoughts from Sean, I thought, about the team and about the immediate future of this franchise. I previewed LSU basketball against Dayton in Charleston. That'll come up an hour and 5 minutes from right now. And then best win, worst loss. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. All of our shows archived there each and every day. Also, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your audio, you can find us, as well as on YouTube. Our full shows are there on the 1045 ESPN YouTube channel. Also, Hunt on Saints and Hunt on LSU has got you covered for your Saints and LSU specifically. In hour number 2, got a couple of guests coming up over the next 30 minutes. Brady Weiler from Panther Talk, talking Georgia State at 2 o'clock. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, on football and basketball at 2:15. Again, we'll pause for SportsCenter and come back with a Thursday edition presented by Rouses. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on all new 23 Ford F-150 Black Widow trucks, plus $2,750 discount APR and 5.9% for 72 months. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouses Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Hunt Palmer Show on a Thursday, presented by Rouses Markets. Download that Rouses app. Do that grocery shopping digitally. Got to order over $100. Saints 20 promo code save you $20 on your online order. Busy hour number 2. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, going to be with us in 15 minutes. He'll, of course, be on the call Saturday night. Will not be on the call in an hour when LSU plays in Charleston against Dayton on the hardwood, but I do know that North Texas has stormed back on a 13-2 run to knot things up with St. John's in the second half. So LSU and Dayton will be on the other side of the bracket from those two, depending on how the result shakes out. But we're talking football here for the majority of the second hour. And to do so, we're going to chat with Brady Weiler of the Panther Talk podcast. He covers Georgia State, and he joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Now, Brady, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing all right. Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. I was chatting with you yesterday when we were going to get you on the show, and you said you are going to head to Baton Rouge for the game on Saturday. Have you ever been to a Saturday night in Death Valley?
I have not. I've been to Baton Rouge on one occasion in high school, but it wasn't for a football game, so I'm excited. When it came out, I had been talking all year about how Georgia State had not had a day game until November, and I was really ready to be able to leave the stadium the day that I arrived there.
Yep.
But that game, I was wanting it to be a night game. I'm very happy it'll be an 8 p.m. kick personally. Get the full Tiger Stadium experience.
Yeah, the SEC office generally does LSU a favor outside of conference. LSU hadn't played a non-conference game in the daytime in a long time in Tiger Stadium. So I'm curious, what's the best environment that you've been in college football?
I would say special shout out Williams-Brice in Columbia. I don't think it's enough talk for how just loud that place gets. Been to Bryant-Denny as a member of the Georgia State band. Went to Neyland Stadium on the day that Georgia State upset Tennessee, so that one probably gets top marks for Georgia State fans.
So you've been to a number in the SEC. That's good. Well, hopefully Saturday night lives up to the expectations for you. I want to talk about this Georgia State team. Got off to a great start when they left Lafayette with a win over ULL. You're looking at a team that was 6-1 heading into the Georgia Southern game, but since they've lost 4 in a row, and the defense has allowed 40-plus points in all 3 of those. What's changed over the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, so the defense obviously has given up those points, but I think it starts with the offense. And even going back into the second half there against Louisiana, something just stopped clicking. Like the offense had just kind of been on a roll most of the year. explosive plays, getting the passing game going in a way that hadn't really the last couple of years. And I don't really know what to put it down to, but Darren Granger, especially the last couple of games, has just been more tentative, just missing some throws, missing some easy stuff on some slants and just over the middle. And then also some of the crispness that was there in the deep passing game has just kind of disappeared because they got some playmakers. You know, Robert Lewis and Tyreek Williams are some good receivers, and if you get them the ball in space, they can make plays. They just haven't been able to do that in the passing game, and it's led to, I think, defenses being able to really lean on them in the run game, which is what they want to start that. But when you have teams loading the box because they don't trust that you can beat them in the passing game, then you get real predictable, you get behind the sticks, and all of that has just meant that the offense has left the defense in some bad spots, playing a lot of snaps, and I think that's really what's led to the defensive struggles.
What does this offense look like when it's going well?
Yeah, well, like I say, Coach Elliott wants to run the ball. It's the thing he's talked about since his introductory press conference in Atlanta. And so you'll see a heavy dose of both Marcus Carroll, the running back, who I think is the third leading rusher in FBS, and Darren Granger as a runner, trying to get some inside zone going and then work some read option and some speed option off of that. And then if they're able to have success with that, you know, they can also hit you theoretically if you start loading the box with the passing game, hit some just go routes and just also get some screen game going and let the receivers do the work. But like I said, that's where it's been going wrong the last couple of games, where they haven't been able to get the run game going because the passing game hasn't, you know, it's all bled into itself. But when it is going well, it really starts with the running game and then unlocking stuff in the passing game because of it.
Defensively, LSU is just a tough matchup in terms of what their offense can do. Where's the strength of this Georgia State defense, and what do you think their plan is against Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and this LSU crew that seems to roll up near 50 on everybody?
Yeah, well, I guess that's part of it. You know, you look at it as everyone has struggled against this defense, and it just kind of is what it is. It's about, I think what has worked earlier in the year for the defense for Georgia State was they were giving up some explosives in the passing game. Their passing defense numbers haven't been great all year, but they were getting stops on those plays eventually. Even if it was a 30 or 40-yard gain, they got a tackle and then bowed up in the red zone. They've got one of the best red zone defenses in the Sun Belt and in the country. I don't know where it sits right now, but that was what was working earlier defensively. And it starts because their run defense has been really solid with the exception of a couple of games. And I think what they're going to look to do is not get beat in the run game because, you know, if LSU is able to run the ball up the middle as well as work it to Neighbors and Thomas on the outside and let Jaden Daniels do his thing, then they're just not going to have any shot and it's going to get ugly. So I think they're really going to try and hone in on the run game and do what they can to eliminate just the extra explosive plays from Jaden Daniels. If they've got a chance to make a tackle on him if he's running in the open field, they got to get him down because, I mean, I saw last game against Florida, the 85-yard run, another one for a big gain. Like, if you have a chance to get him down in open space, you've got to do it because otherwise he's going to really, really make you pay.
Sean Elliott was on with our afternoon drive host yesterday, and he seemed like a huge ball of energy. I was really interested in and enjoyed the interview that he did. What is he like as a head coach?
Yeah, you definitely get a lot of that, and you'll see every game as everyone's getting in their little stretch lines before the game on the field. He'll go around to every player and kind of dap them up and get them excited, and I think the players certainly feed off of that. Goes back to his offensive line coaching days. You know, I think at South Carolina, there's a few of those clips of him headbutting some of his linemen with their helmets on. He is kind of one of just those intense guys, sweating through his shirt in the sideline every game. You certainly see the team play that way when they're going well. A lot of energy, a lot of aggressiveness, and matching what their head coach puts out there as well.
I'm curious what folks in the group of five think about this new 12-team playoff era that we're moving into. Does that feel very attainable to a Georgia State program or some of their Sun Belt contemporaries?
Yeah, I think the door feels a lot more open for getting into that, maybe just call it what it is, that 12th spot every year, than what you had with Cincinnati kind of having to string two seasons together to get the respect to get to that number 4 spot in the 14 playoff. And so, yeah, if you're undefeated as a G5 team or one loss and it comes in your power conference game, you feel pretty good about your chances of maybe being that team to get in there. And it's obviously going to be a test no matter who you're playing in that hypothetical matchup, but it's a chance on the national spotlight to show you're there. A lot of people are going to see you and kind of make you synonymous with a good G5 football program. So I think that those appearances, even if that's what it would be a lot of years, would still mean a lot for G5 programs to kind of be able to hang that banner and say, made the college football playoff.
Brady, we appreciate some time. Safe travels to South Louisiana, and we'll talk again on Saturday.
All right, thank you.
He is Brady Weiler, host of Panther Talk, talking Georgia State football. Look, it's a cool opportunity for these kids to come in and see a Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. And quite frankly, on our end, it's the last one of the year. It's the last Saturday night in Death Valley this year. Last chance for LSU to run out of that tunnel in different uniforms, mind you. But they'll be wearing white helmets and white pants this week. But I'll get over it. But it's your last chance to see the Tigers come out under the lights at Tiger Stadium. We won't get that opportunity against Texas A&M. So from that perspective, for us, it's one more time to do it. And then for Georgia State, it's their opportunity to come in and see what they can do. I'm a little leery of a defense at Georgia State that's given up 42, 44, 44 points over the last 3 games consecutively, dealing with LSU. Brady pinned it a little bit on the offense's inability to get going and the defense kind of breaking because of that. But this should be an opportunity for LSU to roll up a lot of stats offensively for those that are looking to be honored in award season, which is coming up here in a couple of weeks. So appreciate Brady for making a little bit of time for us, and he'll join me again on the pregame show over on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Speaking of the LSU Sports Radio Network, Chris Blair is the voice of the Tigers over there on the LSU Sports Radio Network. He's going to join us next to talk all things football and a little basketball as well. It is a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team have been doing it 30 years. You're doing something for 30 years, you probably know what you're doing. If you're not happy with your bathroom or your closet currently, just get the free consultation. Have David Duvall and his team come over and show you what they can do for you, whether it's a customized closet that creates a lot more space, a lot less clutter, whether it's a redesigned and remodeled bathroom, whether it's just something simple like a tub to shower conversion. They can do all those things for you at One Bath and Closets. And if you're thinking, not a great time for me to pay for that, well, consider the financing options. That may help. It should help. One Bath and Closets, they're here to help you. I can promise you this, they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets, you can find them at the website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, Our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 9.
This Sunday, as we bring you 3 different NFL games, we start with the noon kickoff, the Chargers at Packers. Immediately following that, it's Buccaneers at 49ers, and then the night game, the Vikings and Broncos. Catch all 3 of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouses Supermarkets.
Back out of the Jim's Firearms Hotline we go. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, with us every Thursday and is now not in Charleston for some hoops, but he'll be on the call Saturday night in Death Valley against Georgia State. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, Hunt. It's that first time of year with crossover season for us. And, got Georgia State LSU on a Saturday night in Death Valley, and basketball's over in Charleston playing in what has really grown as a great tournament over there preseason, or in season, I should say, in that Charleston Classic. But, as tournaments go, they could be playing Thursday at this time, Friday at this time, and Sunday at who knows what time. So staying put here in South Louisiana, and we've got people that will take care of the game coming up in just a little bit.
Beauty of college basketball and college baseball, a really disappointing 3 hours doesn't derail your entire season. Certainly a bad 2 hours for LSU basketball last Friday. Just a good opportunity for them to get back on the floor. What did you see in the difference between the first half and the second half on Friday?
Well, I think it started defensively, really. I mean, I think the intensity, one of the things that Coach McMahon said he was very concerned about, even after the exhibition and even after the opener with Mississippi Valley State, was the ability for those two teams to be able to drive and get to the rim. Now, the difference is, no disrespect, they don't have quite the talent that can always kill you doing that. They missed a ton of shots at the rim. You allow teams that you're going to continue to play as the season goes on, and they're going to get to the rim, they're going to rip the rim off. And, I thought in the first half, defensively, the Tigers were kind of lagging back defensively and kind of saying, hey, take me on the dribble, and they did. And they got some of their inside-outside threes by dribble penetration and kick out. And they had good looks, and, to their credit, they knocked down those shots. That all changed in the very start of the second half. I mean, they were hip to hip. They gave them a lot of trouble. Again, a team in Nichols that didn't have a real true point guard, and they were able to force a ton of turnovers and climb back in after being down 19. But, I think the difference is, Hunt, you can almost win that game, and certainly they had their opportunity to do it leading late, and they hit that miraculous shot. The worst-looking shot the kid took all night, but he hit it. But you're not going to be able to do that against the rest of the teams you will face this year, certainly not in the SEC. So I think the big thing for this weekend that I'm going to be watching later this afternoon and throughout the weekend was that game Friday an anomaly from a sense of not really being locked in and not being intense from the word go. Because if that happens, they're going to be they're not going to lose by a point on a last-second shot. Dayton's a team that can just pull away from them. So is St. John. So is the rest of that field. So we'll find out if that was just a one-off and if they can play 40 minutes or 35 minutes the way they played the final 20, then I think they can be in some ball games.
You spent a lot of time around Matt McMahon between traveling and the coaches show and post-game interviews and whatnot. He showed some fire at the podium on Friday night. Was that as animated as you've seen him?
Yeah, it is. And I felt it, because he was pretty animated with us courtside when he came out. I saw it when the halftime buzzer sounded. I mean, he was making sure there was no jogging down the tunnel to the locker room. He was grabbing guys saying, get in there. I think he was most frustrated with what we saw in the second half. While, a team like that, maybe they can't play 40 minutes perfectly defensively or have that type of energy and intensity for 40 minutes. You hope so, but maybe they don't. But he's not going to excuse 20 solid minutes or at least 15 minutes that they weren't doing what they were coached to do. They weren't even putting up much of a fight that you would think from a personal pride standpoint they would put in. And I think he was just overall disappointed that, no disrespect again to Nichols, they won the game. They made the shot. They made several big shots. But LSU lost that game. I don't think Nichols won it.
Let's change gears to football. Your thoughts on Saturday night, Jaden Daniels and what he did in that entire offense against Florida?
It's incredible. I mean, I've been a part, I've been blessed and privileged and lucky, really, to be in some booths over the years here at LSU, and whether it's baseball or basketball or even football. And I've seen, guys set new records, school records and conference records and sometimes national records. It's the first time, Hunt, I've been involved where Patrick Wright, who's the best in the business for us as far as stats goes, from the second quarter on, I mean, every so often he was handing me another one. There's a school record. There's another school record. Oh, here's an SEC record. And then, I think he beat TV to it. I got to give Patrick kudos. He beat TV to it because he handed it to me well before the graphic came up on the screen that, this is an FBS record. So I haven't had a game where somebody had that type of performance where it was just one right after another, putting new ink in the record books.
You got any idea of what teams are supposed to do against him? I'm struggling with it.
I heard Coach Napier after the game say, hey, look, our plan was to try to, bull rush him early and just try to, maybe get home once or twice, just rattle him a little bit, make him uncomfortable. And then we decided, okay, we're going to look like we're bull rushing, and then we're going to drop back. And, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically neither plan worked. So we're going to go back to the drawing board. Not that they'll ever face Jaden Daniels again, but like when we run into a quarterback like this, we don't have answers. I don't know what you do. Again, and lost in all of that, Hunt. Somebody needs to see the auto repair school.
Clearly.
Lost in all that was, while he was setting all those records, I mean, you had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. for the second time over 130 yards apiece in a single game. So not only how do you stop Jaden Daniels, but which part of the game do you want to take away from him? It's an old cliche, pick your poison. But at this point, the way these guys are performing and executing, I don't really know. And frankly, there hasn't been a lot of teams consistently do it. There's been moments here or there, drop pass, Malik slipping against Florida State, the horrible hit on Jaden to get him out of the game when, things were still in contention. Outside of that, I hadn't seen anybody stop him yet.
Brian Kelly sure has talked about the Heisman a lot over the last 4 days. Do you think it'll be on his mind when he takes the sideline on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I mentioned it to you during the Army game or leading up to the Army game. We talk pitch count all the time in baseball. There's a yard count for Jaden, and that was the plan against Army. And you saw it. And the key, when I knew that was the plan, was when they were using the timeouts in that second quarter to try and get the ball back. To, again, give him one more possession, get those good-looking yards, put up 200 plus, close to 300 and a half. That's a pretty good night at the office. And then he can cheer on Garrett and the rest of the guys from the sideline in the second half. I really don't think that's going to be any different than what we'll see Saturday.
I'm looking forward to it. You've been in the Sun Belt. What do these trips to these big stadiums mean to those programs?
Oh, they're big time. They get fired up. They're excited. They come running out of the tunnels. They're going to shock the college football world. And as we know, occasionally, every once in a while, it happens. But most of the time, they come out with some pretty good first couple of punches, and then everything kind of drops back to where it is. And this is a Georgia State team that, over the last couple of years has been really good. I think Sean Elliott did a good job in a program that's only been around since 2010 of making them within the Sun Belt and the G5 a competitive program. but this hasn't been their best addition this season. And it really is not due to injuries. It's just they haven't been able to get the plays they want. Defensively, they're at the bottom nearly in every Sun Belt category. So it's a struggling team. They got off to a 6-1 start. Then they went down to my old stomping grounds in Statesboro, USA, and the old Bluebirds of Georgia Southern broke them because they've lost 3 games since.
That is true. It was 44-27 in that one. Then James Madison and Appalachian State piled on. Chris, enjoy the basketball this afternoon. We'll see you Saturday.
You got it, Hunt.
Chris Blair, he is the voice of the Tigers on the LSU Sports Radio Network. 7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday night in Death Valley. That means over here under our Guarantee Media umbrella, we will start coverage at 2 o'clock p.m. from Rouses, Burbank, and Lee. It'll be Eagle 98.1 game day. It'll be Musso and Hanny over there at 2 o'clock. They'll go until 5. Hand things off to the LSU Sports Radio Network. That is me. We'll have Garrett Brumfield and Marlon Favorite with you, getting you ready for LSU and Georgia State a Saturday night in Death Valley. On from 5 until 6:30. We'll hand it off to Chris and the broadcast team for the call. 30 minutes after it goes final, we'll be right back with you on the Fighting Tiger postgame report for an hour, taking your interaction via Twitter on the network. And then 90 minutes after it goes final, Charles Handegriff and Richard Dixon from right here in the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio will be taking your phone calls on Eagle 98.1 Game Day's postgame show. So that'll be from about 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. We'll have full coverage here at Guarantee over on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Our Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouses. We'll take a timeout, come back with more, talking LSU and Georgia State on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Bengals and the Ravens, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. So build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook for Ravens and Bengals tonight. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues and eligible bonus bet that expires after 7 days. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who knows a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Brian Kelly meets with reporters one more time before the Georgia State game. We'll chat with Mike Triplett and our Fantasy Blitz. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouses Supermarkets.
30 minutes left on a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. I'm going to get you a score from St. John's and North Texas is who we're looking for there. Okay, here's your score. 6 minutes and 17 seconds to go. St. John's has a 45-38 lead, so it's a 7-point lead with just over 6 minutes to go in the game. So a low-scoring game there in the game 1 of the Shriners Children's Charleston Classic. If you want to lock into the last 6 minutes and change of that game, you can on ESPNU. LSU will be on ESPN2 against Dayton coming up in 30 minutes. So I'm excited to watch a little bit of that this afternoon. But football is the topic du jour today, so we'll stick there as LSU and Georgia State will play at 7 o'clock on Saturday night in Death Valley. Like, this is the day where, normally speaking, I'd start getting way into the weeds with statistics and trends and rankings and all kinds of matchups for LSU and the opponent on Saturday. And quite frankly, I haven't done that because you don't really care what Darren Granger's passer rating's been this year. You're not that interested in Marcus Carroll's 1,200 yards rushing or how Robert Lewis looks on the outside at 727 yards this season, right? Not really melting your butter. You're not looking forward to that. Look, it's a standard offense. They're going to run read option stuff. Their quarterback is fairly mobile. He's run for 560 yards, and they've got some talented guys on the outside, and they want to run the ball, and they haven't been very good on offense. So when I look at opportunities on defense, sure, I could sit here and tell you I really want to see Whit Weeks play in this game. Get him in there. He's a younger player. Give him some experience, and you know what? He is going to play in this game, period. Deshaun Womack, get him in the game. This guy's got to play. He's going to play. The freshmen in the secondary have pretty much all played a lot. You don't have to get Stamps in there. You don't have to get Toviano in there. You don't have to force Yates in. They're already playing. But those guys will get some looks. On the offensive side, get Kyle Parker in there. I want to see Shelton Sampson. Let Caleb Jackson go. Those guys are gonna play because LSU's gonna crush Georgia State. Because Georgia State, like Florida, like Auburn, like Mississippi State, like Ole Miss, like Missouri, has no chance to stop LSU. None. So the question becomes, well, then, like, what's then if you already know the young guys are going to play and you already know what the outcome's going to be, like, what's the most important thing on Saturday? And, well, it's pretty simple. Saturday really only boils down to, I'll be generous and say 3 things. Saturday boils down to hopefully no one gets hurt. That's obvious for every football game, but that's a talking point. It's a minor one, but hopefully nobody gets hurt. 2, no stupid targeting fouls in the second half, so you have to sit out the first half against A&M. I'm a freak of nature who worries about stupid things and concerns themselves with things they shouldn't be concerned with, and I get concerned with targeting fouls because I hate the rule. It's evident the last 2 games LSU's played that the officials have no idea what they're doing with the rule. When Dallas Turner play on, 15-yard penalty, Andre Sam sit the rest of the game. It's evident nobody knows what they're doing, so I don't even want to chance that. And I worry about that, and that's minor as well. Injuries, a big deal to the individual, but not a talking point we're going to spend a lot of time. Well, who's going to get hurt? No, that's not a real talking point. And targeting, likelihood of it happening, not great. Not a big talking point. There's only one real talking point with this game on Saturday night. It's the Heisman Trophy. You heard Chris Blair in the last segment. I thought a great nugget because Brian Kelly talked to him about it before the Army game. He's mentioned it on the broadcast, and he talked about it just now with us. It's not a pitch count. It's not a score count. It's simply put a yardage count. There's a benchmark of yards they want Jaden Daniels to get to, and maybe a benchmark of touchdowns. And once he reaches that, whether it's at halftime like it was against Army or midway through the third quarter or to the end of the third quarter, that's when they'll make a move. And I think that's the right thing to do. Is it the safest thing to do for Jaden Daniels' future or the A&M game? No. Is it the best for Garrett Nussmeier? No. But I think when you're weighing pros and cons, the pro of winning a Heisman is a far greater goal and a far more attainable thing than, hey, let's get Nussmeier 2 more series against Georgia State. Or, hey, he could get hurt here, let's get him out. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Go play football. And that's on the offensive side. On the defensive side, well, what's the key for the defense? Well, get stops and create massive separation so that LSU, at their leisure, can do whatever they want offensively. Don't make this a track meet. Widen the thing out and let LSU operate loosely so that Jaden Daniels can have the best chance to win a Heisman. I don't mean, well, I do mean, but I don't want to boil it down to this simple. But you tell me something more interesting when LSU plays Georgia State in the middle of November and LSU can't win the West or win the SEC or play in the college football playoff. It's a fun day to get out on campus and tailgate. The weather should be very good. High is 75, not supposed to rain. Get the jambalaya cookers out there. Light up the fire. Unload the ice chest. Play the music. All day. Have an awesome time. See the band go down Victory Hill. Go inside Tiger Stadium. See the team come out in new uniforms. And the band play pregame. Sing Call in Baton Rouge. It's all fun. You can do it one more time on Saturday night in Death Valley. That's great. And you cheer on the team and you do the dances for the band playing on first, second, third down, and all well and good. But if we're talking about actual stuff going on the field, I'm just looking for highlights and yards, highlights and stats. Jaden, run out of bounds if they get close to you. Maybe slide if there's 3 guys waiting to knock your block off on a 10-yard run. Go roll up some stats and have some fun, 5. That's all I got for Saturday, right? I'm all ears if you want to get in the Bayou Ford chat and give me a real interesting matchup here that I need to dive into. I promise I will, in fact, tell the story of Georgia State's team tomorrow. I'm going to get on here. You'll know who the running back is. You'll know how many he ran for in the games where they scored a lot of points, how many he did. I'll do it, and we'll get there on Friday. It's usually a Wednesday thing, and certainly Thursday we're knee-deep in it. But to this point, when I look at it, I've got a one-track mind here. It makes things pretty simple in terms of covering the game, doing the pregame show, and doing the postgame. I already know, barring some extraordinary event, that the first segment of the postgame show on Saturday night is going to be how this looked for the Heisman voters and what's Penix doing and what's Nick's doing and what's Travis doing and what's Harrison doing. That's the first segment of the postgame show. I already have it. Generally speaking, not the case on Thursday. It's a really, really cool thing. I do a spot in Shreveport every single Wednesday. And they said, so what's the buzz for Georgia State week? I mean, they're not LSU fans. And there's what's going on? And I said, the Heisman. That's it. That's what LSU fans are interested in now. They'll all be fired up for A&M. They want to win that game real bad. And we'll see what the bowl lords giveth, if it's Iowa or Notre Dame or whatever, and who plays in it, I don't know. But this week for Georgia State, it's one-track mind. You don't hear a lot of get Kalen Jackson involved. I don't hear as much get Whit Weeks involved. I don't hear defense. Make sure you play a good game to build some confidence against Georgia. No, it's one thing. So hopefully Jaden Daniels can take a step towards that coming up on Saturday night in Death Valley. Appreciate a bunch of people for jumping aboard the show today. Chris Blair was with us in hour number 2 in that last segment. Also heard from Brady Weiler from Panther Talk, covers Georgia State. Sean Fazan jumped on in the first hour, so appreciate all our guests for jumping in. LSU basketball going to tip things off about 25 minutes from right now if all things hold in Charleston and there's no overtime or anything, but there could be because there's 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go in that game between St. John's and North Texas, and the Mean Green have pulled within 2 points of Rick Pitino's Johnnies, and so we'll see. LSU's scheduled to begin just after 3 o'clock, so we're getting you ready for it right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Back to close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Little late for lunch. Dinner's around the corner. Jersey Mike's always a great option. Love our friends. Highway 30 in Gonzales near that new Heritage Shopping Center just north of I-10. For those that are maybe passing through, leaving Baton Rouge or coming in, Jersey Mike's always a great option. I got the original Italian last Friday. Jersey style, provolone, ham, prosciutto, capicola, salami, pepperoni. I got some mayo on it. It's fantastic. Jersey Mike's makes a great cold sub. They also do great work on the hot subs. Their cheesesteaks, including the chicken cheesesteak with bacon and ranch, tasty. Try them out for a catering option, whether it's your office, a tailgate party, game watch party, or as I said yesterday, if you got a Hester-style family, you just need to feed every order's a catering order at that point. Jersey Mike's can help you out with that. Download the Jersey Mike's app. Stop by and see our friends at the location, Highway 30 in Gonzales, near that new Heritage Shopping Center. Jersey Mike's, it's a sub above.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's
Join us for Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rafino's. Richard Dixon and I get it started at 10 a.m. for 3 big hours of college football preview. Live at lunch, 10 a.m. on Friday from 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouses Supermarkets.
It's coming down to the wire in Charleston, and what looks like a decent crowd in there today. Right now, with 1 minute and 11 seconds to go in the game, North Texas 52, St. John's 51. Johnny's headed the line for a 1-1. So if that goes final over the next 11 minutes, which it very well could, depending on how many timeouts Coach Patino and whoever the coach in North Texas is, Byrne, will get you a final score from Charleston, LSU, and Dayton will follow them up. Reminder, we will be at Rouses tomorrow for Tackle Hunger. Not just me, us. It'll be T-Bob and Jake at 7 o'clock in the morning, Rouses, Burbank, and Lee. It'll be me, 1 to 3, Rouses, Burbank, and Lee. It'll be Matt Moscona, 3 to 6, Rouses, Burbank, and Lee. Saints cheerleaders will be there. Gumbo, the mascot, will be there. Randall Blue Gay will be there. It'll be an awesome event. You know that Rouses is the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. They bring you our Thursday shows right here on the Hunt Palmer Show, and we're looking forward to a fun day at Rouses. We're always there from 3 to 5 on Fridays, but the whole lineup's going to be actually broadcasting from there. So if you're getting your weekend grocery shopping done tomorrow at any point, stop by Rouses, Burbank, and Lee and see us. We'll be having a good time out there tomorrow. St. John's taking a 2-point lead, under a minute to 1-point lead, under a minute to go. Let's play some Take It or Leave It, Beck.
All right, first one here. After the NCAA sent down its decision Wednesday to not allow James Madison postseason eligibility, Virginia's Attorney General sent a demand letter to the NCAA that threatens legal action if James Madison's exclusion from bowl consideration in 2023 isn't reversed. The NCAA only hurt themselves. Take it or leave it.
Take it. I don't understand why this is in place. I am not willing to tell you that it's 100% stupid. Maybe there's a real reason why this rule's in place. I don't know it.
So I read into it a little bit, and the NCAA's explanation apparently is that they want to make sure that whenever teams make the transition from FCS to FBS, that they are going to have the proper just things in place that are required to be FBS instead of FCS, like scholarships, like funding for stuff. I don't know. It seems like a little bit of just jargon to me, like there's just this reasoning why.
How about this?
It's clear James Madison is able to handle
I think they're doing all right with scholarships and everything because they're undefeated. So, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think they're going anywhere with legal ramification. It's pretty well spelled out when you make the transition in the legal documents that, hey, there is a waiting period for bowl games. Just so happened that you went 10-0. Sorry. But yeah, I think it's stupid. I think the NCAA at times does more harm than good.
All right, next one here. Florida State will be retiring former quarterback and current Saint Jameis Winston's number on Saturday. Winston deserves this. Take it or leave it.
Got to take it. I mean, he was phenomenal. He was there, obviously, 3 years, redshirted, won the Heisman Trophy his first year, and the second year they went undefeated. Now, their schedule was trash, and Oregon just destroyed them in the Rose Bowl. But he was fantastic. They were fantastic. He won the Heisman Trophy. Did he act like an idiot a lot? Yes, he acted like an idiot a lot. He did a lot of things that were very stupid, but he was really good at football. And in the end, I'm going to side with the football on that kind of stuff in college sports. And so I would say, yes, he absolutely deserves to have that number retired. On a side note, how absurd is it that Florida has had consecutive quarterbacks wear 15?
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson and I've even forgotten his name. He's so irrelevant. Give me Florida's quarterback's name.
Mertz?
Graham Mertz.
Yeah, Mertz.
Are wearing 15 in blue and orange. That is offensive.
I wonder, do you think maybe it's possible that Tim Tebow doesn't want his number retired? It seems like maybe that's something
I mean, he's a little different like that, but it's just get the number retired. This is not hard.
Yeah.
He's one of the 10 best players in the history of the sport. So you retire the number, and Graham Mertz is not allowed to wear it. Period.
All right.
Graham Mertz.
Yeah. All right, moving on here. Carissa Thompson joined Pardon My Take and claimed that sometimes she made up halftime coaches' reports if the coach was late coming out or seemed busy. Take it or leave it.
I mean, there's a mob running after her, like Molly McGrath's going nuts and all these reporters saying, like, this is unethical. This is not the point of the job. Don't listen to this if you're a young reporter. This is so detrimental to the people that are trying to do a good job and all that kind of stuff. And I agree that there are some really, really good sideline reporters, and there are instances where the sideline reporters do a phenomenal job with gathering information and presenting it on TV and getting stories from some of the whatnot. But what I don't need as a viewer is, let's go down to Carissa. Yeah, talk with Coach Kelly. Said they really need to control the line of scrimmage in the second half. Got to do a better job defensively on third downs, getting the offense off the field. And, of course, when they get in that red zone, they really need to punch it in and score touchdowns. Back to you, Reese.
That was pretty good, though, Hunt.
But it's what did I learn there? You gotta do better job on third down. It's just more often than not, it's a cliche-riddled thing in that instance. There are plenty of times when the sideline reporter tells me about the guy whose uncle died this week, or his sister made him a bracelet that he wears every day, or whatever may be the case that happens that he tells, or the team had to change everyone's cleats because it's raining and this is what they did. That's really insightful stuff. The coaches almost always give you nothing, unless there's a ticked off coach at halftime who blows a gasket and is entertaining for whatever reason, or Mike Leach is talking Halloween candy. Like, it's a pretty worthless time 88 out of 100. Like, more often than not. So I don't need Carissa, doesn't have to make stuff up, but, like, I'm not going to throw a fit about it because the coaches in that instance are usually really boring.
All right, last one here. Tiger Woods' son, Charlie, a freshman at the Benjamin School in Palm Beach, shot a 78-76 over 2 days as the Buccaneers won the FHSAA Class A state championship on Wednesday. Charlie will be winning a U.S. Junior Am soon enough. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. He's good, and a lot of golfers are very, very, very good.
Yeah.
It's frightening how good, because I've been around I've been around obviously pro golfers at Zurich, and I've been around LSU college golfers, and I've also been around like really good amateur golfers who are +2 handicaps and whatever. They're not even on the same planet as these guys who are pros and at the top of the sport professionally. Like, that should go without saying. Obviously, you go out to the rec basketball court, you're not going to see LeBron out there. But a lot of people play golf, and not very many people play football, so it's not very easy to like draw comparisons. There's so many really good players in golf, and so it's the odds are against him. I'm certainly not going to rule it out. So he's shooting 78-76 as a freshman in high school. I think Charlie would beat me pretty bad.
That's pretty good. They probably weren't playing on a very easy course either.
No, and he was probably playing for a pretty good tee box in high school golf. So impressive work by young Charlie, but he's got, one, a lot of pressure on him because of who he is, and two, it's just really hard to make it in that sport. And just because his dad's the greatest to ever do it, just doesn't automatically transplant that into his body. But I'm pulling for him. I think it would be a great story if Charlie became a really successful pro golfer. I think that'd be a cool thing. Can I break some FCC violations here?
Yes, I have a dump button.
Okay, I'm not going to curse, but I'm going to do some play-by-play on the last 10 seconds here. This North Texas St. John's game. LSU plays the other team, and North Texas is down 2. They inbound it. Going to go near half court. Dribble between the legs. Hand it off to the high post. Fadeaway jumper from 18 feet off the iron. Right, rebounded by St. John's. Foul with 2 seconds to go, and the Johnnies very likely going to win this one. That is illegal to repurpose that and do play-by-play, but I kind of wanted to do it. So as long as nobody that's listening out there reports us, then we should be in good shape.
Rick Pitino's back, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, Rick Pitino, back in action at St. John's. That's actually a really good fit. He's pretty old, I think. Isn't he 70s?
He's in his 70s, yeah.
But cool for him to get – he's a New York guy, and obviously St. John's in New York. So North Texas had an 18-footer there to take the lead. They missed it. They theoretically, I guess, could get a shot up in 2.1 seconds. St. John's is going to the line in the double bonus. They'll get 2 shots here. LSU will play the winner or loser, depending on what they do against Dayton, coming up here in, I guess they'll be a little bit delayed. They're supposed to start at 3. I guess it's probably 20 minutes after this one goes final. So you would imagine sometime around 3:15, 3:20, LSU and Dayton will get underway. You can watch that game, incidentally, on ESPN 2. St. John's misses the first of 2 there. So potentially a chance for the Mean Green to get one up. But these two teams have played a very low-scoring game. 53-52 is the score right now. That doesn't show me that either one of these teams potentially a powerhouse at this point when they're grinding it out in Charleston at this point. That's going to do it. Oh, he missed both. North Texas got a ball. They're going to get a shot up. He didn't shoot it. He didn't get a shot. It didn't matter because he bricked it off. But you knew you had 2.1 seconds, and he didn't get it off before the buzzer. Drives me nuts. But St. John's wins over North Texas. So the winner of LSU and Dayton will play St. John's. The loser will get North Texas. So that is now official. That's it for us here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouses Markets, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Get on by and do your weekend grocery shopping over at Rouses. Open the show today talking about mock drafts. Where does Jaden Daniels end up? Where's Malik Neighbors? Where's Brian Thomas? Some think in the first round. Sean Fazan talks Saints with us at 1:15. You can find that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. I previewed LSU Hoops versus Dayton. That'll be dated in about 25 minutes. So if you want to listen to that, I'd go do it right now. Best win, worst loss. We always do that on Thursdays. Brady Weiler from Panther Talk talking Georgia State at 2 o'clock. The voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, at 2:15. You can catch all that on demand wherever you find your podcast. Tomorrow's a Football Friday. We'll have Preston Guy of TigerBait.com react to LSU and Dayton and get you ready for a big football weekend from Rouses on Burbank and Lee. That's going to do it for me. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. I'll be back same time, not the same place, at Rouses tomorrow. Have a good Thursday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our